Hey, welcome back to Slow News Day Live. Steve Poikinen here with my friend Jason Carney. We're about to jump into some heavy shit here. Um, but before we do, uh, if you dig what you're seeing, man, throw us a like, subscribe to the channel, talk us up a little bit on your social media, tell your friends about us. Um, we're having fun, but we're doing this for y'all too. Um, because there really aren't enough people that take the news outside of the narrative. Um, we have a game show host for president, and that game show host has this like particular brainworm that once he gets a hold of a certain idea or talking point that he knows the absolute worst of his base just feeds off of, he will stick with that no matter how many times it's been proven to him to be false. Um, he treats new information or information that runs counter to his worldview like it's single payer and he's Barack Obama. It's fucking brutal. Um, he was at a rally in Green Bay last night, and first of all, shout out to Green Bay, Wisconsin. My dad was from Racine, Wisconsin. I still have family in Racine, Wisconsin. Um, he was a diehard Packers fan.
Go
Somewhere
Packers
there's
and Badgers.
huh?
I said go Packers and Badgers.
Somewhere there's an autograph picture of Bart Starr with my name on it. I'm not going to Indiana anytime soon. Um, to retrieve that. Having said that, I've got friends in the Green Bay area. I've got friends that were protesting, at least from the comfort of their own homes, the mere thought of Donnie Tiny Hands showing up to their spot and dropping some hate. Um, at any rate, here I'm pimping the stream right now. Fuck a phone. Anyhow, Donnie Johns is at the rally in Green Bay, and he tells the crowd, um, extreme late term abortions. It was a subject. Talking about babies are, quote, ripped from their mother's womb right until the moment of birth. This is from Mother Jones. He was just getting started. Um, he told the crowd that Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers shockingly stated that he will veto legislation that protects Wisconsin babies born alive. Born alive. The baby is born, the mother meets with the doctor. They take care of the baby. They wrap the baby beautifully. And then the doctor and the mother determine whether or not they will execute the baby. And he used a guillotine motion for effect.
Can I jump in real quick?
By all
There's
means.
no law in this country that would allow murder of a born child being wrapped, as he put it, as Steve put it, as you read the quote, going through that whole process. There's never an incident in which the doctor and the mother have a conversation about ending the life of a healthy born child. It's illegal in this country to have, and in most states, as far as I know, to have a late term abortion, anything up to, I believe, what is it, 6 months, 5 months, or something of that nature. Usually
Yeah.
you want to do it within the first trimester if you're going to do it. And to have this incorrect and literally stupid and ignorant bastard talk like this, and having other stupid and ignorant bastards going to parrot this moron, it makes me really, the humanity's lost. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, we're fine, man. Uh So Mother Jones goes on to say none of what he said is true. Trump has repeated similar claims before at a campaign rally in El Paso in February and again during the State of the Union address when he claimed that lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments before birth. And this is editorial on the part of Mother Jones, but it says now his descriptions are just getting even more graphic and violent. We know that he's making flat the fuck out spurious, false, demonstrably false claims, and he's doing it to a base that goes out of their way to celebrate their particular information bubble, which is weird. The kind of like the Republican bubble, the right-wing bubble that goes anywhere from standard neoliberal talking points to this libertarian 4chan kind of area, and there's moments where reality sets in and there's a bunch of factual information that comes out of those zones because it can't be reported anywhere else because the mainstream media won't allow it. But that's a that's a rare and beautiful day compared to a beautifully wrapped baby gets,
Here, this is exactly what two doctors had commentary on. Dr. Barbara Levy, Vice President of Health Policy at the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, said abortion later in pregnancy is not used as an alternative to delivering healthy women's full-term viable pregnancies. Additionally, it's callous to suggest that healthy women with viable pregnancies at term abruptly change their mind and seek abortion care as a solution. Now, Dr. Jennifer Conti, a fellow with the advocacy group Physicians for Reproductive Health and co-host of the V Word podcast, said those exceptionally rare cases that happen after 24 weeks are often because a fetus has a condition that cannot be treated and will never be able to survive, regardless of the gestational age or trimester. It's this exact reason that it's nonsensical to legislate these cases. Nobody arrives at the decision to have an abortion after 24 weeks carelessly. Rather, it's a rare case of rapidly decompensating maternal heart disease or a delayed diagnosis of encephaly, yeah, where the fetus forms without a complete brain or skull. That brings people to these decisions. None of that is a healthy, bouncing baby.
so the this particular hot button issue, abortion in general, is one of those things that triggers the fuck out of true pro-life activists. And there are a lot of pro-life activists that are, like we were talking about earlier, maybe one bad day away from taking the next step in their
like the 90s when you had the abortion clinic bombings and people being shot at abortion clinics and those wackos just doing everything they could to strike fear into any woman who has the constitutional right, as far as the Supreme Court states on January 22nd, 1973, to make that choice. I'm just throwing it out there.
Is he doing it just to make sure that he has a ginned up and active electorate in the 2020 election? Or like, is he the troll that people think he is? Is he doing it just to see, if he can't get a building or two blown up?
I think it's equal parts. I think he's I get called a man child frequently, and I love the phrase when it's used for me. But in this case, for Trump, he likes to start fires and watch them burn. I think it's to, as you said, gin up the base and make sure that they turn out come 2020. He's using the Mueller investigation. He's using this. He's making other false assertions about other things that fires up his base. And it's the only reason why this statement makes sense coming out of a grown man in the 21st century is to speak to the ignorant and uneducated masses that support him and their lack
Well,
of understanding of when abortions occur.
okay, but here's my thing too, though. Like, I think he legit believes that. I think he believes that that is a thing that happens, and then it happens with a frequency that he needs to be genuinely concerned about and direct his energy towards. And what that ultimately leads to is another conversation about, bringing it in front of the Supreme Court. And we have a Supreme Court that is now stacked with right-wing judges. I mean, any way you look at it, they're stacked with corporate judges, but now they're stacked with
Socially conservative.
some more fanatical and more ecumenically minded right-wing judges.
I'll
Um,
put it to you this way: when Chief Justice Roberts is considered the center, we have a fucking problem in the Supreme
oh,
Court.
yeah, no doubt about that, homie. Um, and they go after him. What, for upholding the mandate, the Obamacare mandate?
Mandate, and also I forget, it was just a case within the last year or so. Once I remember it, I'll say it out loud like I'm having a Tourette's fit. But he's come out a couple of times, just literally interpreting the Constitution and the practicality and the legality of these different issues by the letter. That's the only reason why he went liberal in any particular case.
Well, and let's not forget that the Obamacare mandate was written by the Heritage Foundation. It's
And known as Romney Care.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
right wing. It was a right wing bill when it came out. I don't know why there was such opposition by. I mean, I know the GOP is slow, and I know that's their whole history and such. Not to say Democrats are much better, but at the end of the day, when your own people and the Heritage Group is one of the main writers of most of your bills for the last 25 to 30 years, why are you arguing? This is a win for you.
Oh, because don't think for half a second those motherfuckers didn't know that it had the Heritage Foundation stamp all over it, or that it wasn't Mitt Romney's fucking signature piece of legislation. The entire reason they freaked out and screamed socialism was to make goddamn sure that single payer or the public option never happened, and that
Right.
everything was dragged further to the right. That's what electing Democrats gets you. It gets you right-wing legislation that never would have got passed under any Republican, because the media would have fucking flipped out about it, and people would have flipped out about it because of how fucking draconian and fucking damaging to regular working Americans it
It
is.
was a boon to the healthcare insurance. That's all it was. It penalizes you for not paying rates to
Yeah.
healthcare. It doesn't. It's literally penalizes you for not having insurance. If you can't afford insurance, how in the hell are you supposed to obtain it?
Well, and that's the thing. That's why it was. That's why it was mandated. It was mandated to punish the poor. It wasn't mandated out of the benevolence of corporate America's heart or the fucking insurance lobby's heart. That's for fucking sure.
And then watching Democrats, the kings and queens of acquiescence, fight to the death over ACA. It's astounding the stupidity that goes into it when we're putting out single payer, which will be cheaper tax wise than it would be to pay for a premium, which
Yeah,
will
but
cover every American.
their meal tickets won't be getting paid.
But here's the thing: the rank and file Democrats have no excuse. They're not getting direct love and support from the healthcare industry. They're not getting the bribes like our Pelosi's, our Schumers, and others. They're the rank and file. They're the normal people out there defending a horrible, horrible healthcare bill
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
law.
No, you're
Excuse me,
you're you're
law.
absolutely right. But there are also a lot of people who are rank and file Democrats that work in medical billing and coding, who are under the impression that they're going to be homeless. There are, a lot of people that work in the medical industry is how much of our job sector?
Let's find out.
Uh, my point being is that again, those people that are kept working multiple jobs, those people that are stressed out, those people that barely have time to pay attention, let alone disseminate between what is propaganda and what is reality. The i- if those people are inside that profession and all they're hearing is we're going to lose our jobs and we're going to get fucked, they're going to defend what is paying their bills.
I'm going to put it to you this way. U.S. healthcare spending grew 3.9% in 2017, and this is, mind you, for 2017, reaching 3.5 trillion or $10,739 a person. As a share of the nation's GDP, health spending accounted for 18% of this country's GDP.
Okay.
Now, as to the portion spending, rising prices will drive healthcare spending nearly 20% of U.S. GDP by 2020. It's
It's a
batshit
fifth.
insane.
It's a fifth of the economy.
And then national defense is how much? 40% was it? 41% or something of that nature? On two programs, 60% of our money's gone.
Um, that seems disproportionate.
I'm just double checking. Military
Uh,
spending as percentage of GDP. Okay. Boop, boop, boop.
and when I say that seems disproportionate, I don't mean I don't believe your numbers. What I mean is that is just a
Oh, no, I
fucking.
want to double check it. That's all. I like to be accurate and factual. I don't want to throw out big numbers and it be one of those things where I'm incorrect or misleading people. I don't want to do that. Da, da, da. I can tell you Saudi Arabia is 10.4%.
Um,
Go ahead, keep going. I just want to double check and verify this just for.
uh,
Okay, cool. It's significantly less at 3.5%. So healthcare apparently is the leading consumer of our GDP at this point.
so that I mean that's why there's entire caucuses within the Democratic Party that are fucking banding together to work with insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies and um, healthcare fucking or at least doctors um, to make sure that fucking Medicare for all doesn't happen. They're looking at a fifth of the economy in terms of their bread and butter. And I'm sure that there's like ancillary dollars that come in that aren't being factored in on that 18 to 20% number. Um, but holy fuck, dude, it we've got 40 million people uninsured. We've got GoFundMe as our national healthcare model. We've got fucking um, I mean, people who have the freedom to die bankrupt from preventable illness,
That's absolutely.
and the freedom to pass that debt on to their children.
But you have access. Didn't you know that? You have access. I don't know what you're complaining about. I have access to a Lamborghini, but I can't buy the damn thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And just for clarification purposes, I'm sorry about the 41%. What that was meant for was federal discretionary spending. So that's where I just want the audience to know 3.5% of our GDP, the 41% applies to federal discretionary spending.
Getting back to the opening segment about the Trump rally and whether or not he's ginning up his base or whether or not he's actively trying to incite violence. I mean, we saw in the primary where he was actively inciting violence.
Right.
And it's not it gets lost a lot for all the shit that people on the left give Democrats. Um, just how ununique and unordinary and typical of a right-wing Republican Donald Trump is. To the point now to where I saw an article today saying the big money donors in the GOP that were all for Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio are ready to fucking embrace Donnie Johns again. And of course, I mean, that makes sense on one level because he's the incumbent president, and who the fuck are they going to support? That idiot from fucking Utah or wherever who nobody's goddamn heard of, who's like, I'm going to primary Trump. Great. You're
Jason,
fucking,
what the hell? Yeah, I'll
I
figure
don't
out the
know,
name. I
dude.
remember who you're talking about, though.
He's the fucking uh he's the Julian Castro or Juan Castro of the Republican Party in terms of presidential candidates right now, or Tom Steyer or whatever. Fucking he's nobody. Um Trump is a right-wing fascist fucking authoritarian fucking egomaniacal piece of shit, just like every other Republican that has held that office. There's nothing special about the guy. The only thing that makes Donald Trump different from any of them is that he does their shit out in public. That's why they're so mad at him.
Evan McMullen, a former CIA operations officer from Utah, was the guy you're talking about.
That's right. That's right. Neat. Another fucking spook. Run, that's all we need is more open CIA fucking officers running for public office. That's great.
I go back to what you said originally. I think it's equal parts. If I want to flush out and be a little bit more nuanced, he needs his base to be fired up because he's not going to have it. He's been underwater when it comes to approval ratings since day one, and it hasn't changed. So that means the vast majority of independents, Democrats, and others look at the guy and go, what in the holy fuck is he doing in office? So he has to gin up and get his base uber excited and freaking out and foaming at the mouth and just absolutely insane. So he has a crack at it. When you bring up the GOP corporate donors selling out and backing Trump, it's just like the GOP in its entirety. In 2015 and 2016, they were saying we can't have a guy like Trump represent the GOP. We can't have a guy like Trump saying these things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, most of us on the left were like, what's the problem? All he's doing is saying out loud what you guys practice. And at the end of the day, he has such a fervent base of, what is it, 11% of the population, 10% of the population.
Oh no, it's 26% of the population easy.
Now it is because if you remember correctly, there was the Bill Kristols, there was the Wall Street Journal crowd, there was those type of intellectual conservatives who said,
yeah, but they were as serious about resisting Trump as the Democrat leadership is. Right. It's for optics. It's for different people's money. You've got to keep your job going. You've got to keep selling your newspaper or your magazine or your fucking website. At the end of the day, fucking Bill Kristol was happy as shit those tax cuts passed. He was happy as shit those bombs got dropped. He was happy as shit that fucking Scott Pruitt gutted everything in the EPA. He was happy as shit that every unwinding of every regulation took place. The only thing that he wasn't happy about is he had to give Donald Trump credit for it, and he fucking ended up giving Donald Trump credit for it while fucking bashing him anyway, because he's a fucking Bill Kristol's a piece of shit too. But he fucking benefited just as much from that tax cut as Donald Trump did.
No disagreement. No disagreement. I'm just trying to set the political spin from 2015 to 2016, and I'm not shocked that the contributors to the GOP, your Sheldon Adelsons and others, the scum of the earth, that happen to have a few bucks. I'm not shocked that they're fine with fascism. I'm not shocked that they're fine with having a government that is owned lock, stock, and barrel by corporations.
Well, I guarantee you,
it's not a development to me.
I guarantee you what all of the big money guys are happy about, and that's that Donald Trump's entire cabinet and administration, with the exception of Jared Kushner, has been taken over 100% by H.W. Bush and George Bush and Karl Rove diehard loyalists. The entire fucking scumbag family that the Bushes are, all of their fucking cronies are running the show in Trump's administration,
But
which
let's also
should
look
be
at the Obama administration with the Goldman Sachs crew. I
well.
mean,
Citigroup wrote an email to Obama
mm-hmm,
or to the Obama campaign to dictated to President Obama or to President-elect Obama who they would like to see in his cabinet, and to a
mm-hmm.
person Obama appointed him. His entire fucking cabinet dictated to him by Citigroup. And people thought that he was hoping change. I can't, it just it baffles me.
How many
But look,
holdovers from the Bush administration did Obama keep?
Pardon?
I said, how many holdovers from the Bush administration did Obama keep? I know the Treasury Secretary Paulson was there for a minute. And Tim Geithner was a disciple of Paulson.
Yeah. And Ben Bernanke was what's his name?
Greenspan's successor.
Yeah. No, but he was also a Greenspan acolyte.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All those fucking Ayn Rand cultists. My point about all the Bush co-loyalists in Trump's organization, though, is more to like anybody who's ever had to deal with the Q crew should be able to point to this automatically and say, would you fucking look at who he's got in his administration? How could you possibly say that Elliott Abrams or John Bolton or even Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court pick, was plucked out of obscurity by Karl Rove and hand fucking placed on a federal judgeship?
Wasn't he a part of the White House counsel for Baby Bush?
Yeah.
2003, 2004, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like that dude's dad and Christine Blaley Ford's dad golfed together and fucking both work for the fucking intelligence agency, and they fucking she did, he did. Like, it's while that was going on, Google was meeting with a different Senate committee telling them exactly how they fucking unrolled the social credit score system in China. Do you think that got the same coverage?
By people like us trying to speak about that, yes. But did it compare to the whole Kavanaugh fiasco? No.
Dude, and all of the people who were screaming "Me Too" while Google executives are talking about how to unroll a social credit score system are now fucking lining up by Joe Biden and didn't say, we're happy as fuck to put Me Too on hold when George H.W. Bush died, and are happy as fuck to suspend Me Too anytime someone who wears their jersey is fucking trying to gain either some woke points or some votes.
And here's my biggest problem: the ignorance of the American people. It's not, I know it's a vast generalization. There's a lot of us on the left who are eyes open, fact-based, trying to relay information to the masses so they can consume it. The problem is the masses seem to be a bunch of adults at this point. There's 11 points to fascism. There's 11 signs where, hey, we're having a problem. And the GOP and Trump, and to a lesser extent the Democrats, are creating an environment that is fertile for an authoritarian dictatorship of the fascist variety. You're talking Third Reich levels, Mussolini, etc. And we can't seem to get our collective heads out of our asses long enough to take a look and go, holy shit. What got us to this point? It was Democrats and Republicans. What got us to this exact time in history? It's the Democrats' acquiescence to corporate America and being sold lock, stock, and barrel back in the 70s to them. There's so many things going on here.
Yeah, I think at this point we can safely say that the Democrats stopped acquiescing decades ago and fully
Embraced.
became the party that embraced corporate America, if not as openly, as enthusiastically as the GOP. And when we talk about the march towards fascism, we're including neoliberal Democrats
Of course.
as fascists, who, because they fucking are. Jesus Christ, dude.
But they'll be
Have
the first to
you
scream about Trump being a fascist, and yet they are members of. They help facilitate where we're at right now.
Well, because for them to admit it would be to break the narrative. They wouldn't. They would be admitting that they themselves are a right-wing party. It's
Well, you
it's
got Biden, his ties to corporate America, his past, his record, etc. You have a multitude of Democrat candidates that are the same old. And yet you have imbecilic, totally blind, totally blind faith following type of cultists that follow these people and say that they're going to make things better. They're going to change things. They're actually going to fight for the little guy. They're going to take care of things because they're not the GOP and they're not Trump. It's like, have you looked at your candidate? Have you bothered to take 5 seconds?
Well, and this brings me back to Tulsi Gabbard's deleted video, in that what the fuck difference does it matter if we beat Trump, if we replace him with someone who legislates like Trump but doesn't outwardly behave like Trump? There is no difference, Jason. It's fucking
No.
it's you're replacing shit with a different smelling piece of shit. And
With a little bit of a shine on it. A little bit of a
maybe,
shine on it.
maybe not. Maybe you get so look, I don't see Bernie Sanders getting through the primary clean. I've said this a number of times. I will be pleasantly surprised if that's not the case, but cynical me will think that's because he's made a deal with the establishment. But I because I don't see him getting through the primary cleanly, what I'm starting to envision is not Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's going to trip all over his own dick so many times in the next 3 weeks. Every time they put a camera on that guy, he says something fucking retarded. It's just mind blowing. Mayor Pete,
Connecticut are pretty dumb, apparently.
Mayor Pete, the little CIA fucker. Mayor Pete gets the nomination, and Elizabeth Warren is his vice president, because Elizabeth Warren has proven time and time again that if somebody needs to turn their back on progressives quickly and cleanly, she's their gal.
Yeah, no argument. And here's the thing, I want to say you're absolutely absurd. You're crazy. That can never happen in this world. I don't know what you're talking about, but the sad part is it is just as fucking viable and reasonable as anything else. Sadly, that's where our politics have come. What you just laid out was a conspiracy theory that's based totally in reality. The likelihood of that occurring is pretty strong under the conditions that we currently have.
Well, okay, so it's definitely a theory, but I mean, we've already witnessed a primary that's been stolen in broad daylight in real time. They barely did that in the dark. And what they did do in the dark, when it got dragged out into the light, it went over like a fart in church, because nobody wanted to fucking process that kind of information. That holy shit, there's, a political party that on paper is more craven and corrupt than the Republican Party. And it's the party that I've been, to people, it's been the party that they've been in. And that's information that short circuits people. They just zot out. I don't know an easy way to deliver that information, though, man, because people are so you've tried it. You've tried talking to somebody who does not believe that the primary was rigged, right? Like,
it's like talking to an ostrich that has their head in the sand. Literally, they don't want to hear it. You could throw
You
facts at them. You could be respectful. You could be kind, sweet. You could sugarcoat it. You could be direct. You could be an asshole. You could be a sweet guy. It doesn't matter how you deliver facts. Some people will just refuse them. And unfortunately, some of those people hold positions of power, or they're in the media, or what have you. And we're stuck
who
with
are
that.
those gonna people? Who are those people gonna vote for on the off chance that Sanders gets through the primary cleanly?
Here's the thing, and I said this in 2015, leading up to 2016. I told Democrats, and this made me an absolute darling of the Democrat Party, that you need us more than we need you. We don't need you. We're the ones who go knock at your doors. We're the ones who get petitions signed. We're the ones who do the GOTV deals. We're the ones who are your base. We're the ones who you're supposed to fight for. And if you screw Sanders like you plan on doing, you're going to lose come November. We were saying that. It wasn't just me. It was a multitude of everybody across the progressive and left spectrum.
Oh,
What happened in
I know.
2016? They lost.
Yeah,
Democrats they'll go with the wind wherever the wind blows. And if Bernie Sanders is somehow nominated, I guarantee you Democrats will be singing a completely different tune when it comes to that. Even the rank and file morons that still back Clinton and Biden and those types will sing a totally different tune. Yeah, there'll be some bitter, salty people who we can laugh at collectively. But at the end of the day, they have no spine. They have no courage. They have no convictions. They'll go where the wind blows. And if the wind looks like it's blowing toward progressive and Green New Deal, things of that nature, guess where Democrats are going to go? I'm just saying.
are you talking about regular people?
I'm talking from top to bottom, regular people to Donna frickin' Brazil.
Because look, man, I don't I see the leadership pulling a coup
Okay.
on a couple of different levels. Because uh, if Bernie gets through the primary cleanly, there's a pretty good chance that you get some random centrist billionaire Howard Schultz
Third
type
party
guy
option.
who runs as a third party candidate and
Spoiler.
takes yeah, and takes a decent chunk of uh New York and Los Angeles with them.
Right.
And that in and of itself creates a giant rift in the party in
It
the
already still
House and
exists.
Senate. Huh?
It already still exists. If anything
So
goes
yeah, but
outside
right
of
now,
Bernie Sanders
right,
winning the nomination, then the Democrat Party's doomed.
right, but yeah, right now it exists to stop progressives from being able to pass any legislation of meaningful value. If a progressive individual gets the White House, yeah, then they kind of, for the optics, are going to have to break rank and be the new Democrats or whatever.
I'm just looking at
Because they've still got to, at the end of the day, they've got to satisfy their donors. They've got to keep the fucking gravy chain rolling. And there's fucking like file cabinets full of fucking compromising information on all those people.
Well, here's the funny part. I find this exceptionally entertaining. I don't know why, but I do. Essentially, you're looking at a weird dichotomy. Democrats will say that they're voting or they're fighting for those who aren't progressives, like the average American in the flyover states, and the rest of the country wants these more blue dog Democrat conservative values. But oddly enough, as of November 2016, an estimated 62 million millennials were voting age U.S. citizens, surpassing 57 million Generation Xers, and they were quickly approaching baby boomers. And if I'm not mistaken, in the 2018 election, they overtook baby boomers for the size of the block of potential voters that exists. Now, millennials are the biggest pushers of socialism, left wing politics, etc. We haven't seen a generation like this in a long time. And yet the Democrats are going to completely block out an entire generation of people, the largest voting bloc, regardless of color, regardless of sexual orientation, race, whatever, an entire block of the largest constituency in this country now, just to appease old fogies and blue dogs in a dying party and a dying ideology that no one wants anymore. That's where I'm confused. Just the numbers. Numbers don't lie.
No, numbers don't lie, but we don't have free and fair elections in this country.
True.
We're still using electronic voting machines.
No paper trail.
For as much political hay and as much ratings cash as spending the last 3 years screaming Russia, Russia, Russia has garnished these people, or has granted these people, they haven't done a fucking thing about our electoral process, and that's something that you never hear at any of those town halls. The only person that's put forth any meaningful legislation regarding our broken ass election system has been Tulsi Gabbard, and every time she comes out with a bill, it makes too much sense. Stop funding terrorists. Oh no, we can't do that. Free and fair elections. You got the wrong spot, buddy. Hey, how about this? How about instead of your bullshit corporate friendly non-binding resolution Green New Deal, we pass the OFF Act, the Off Fossil Fuels Now Act. How about we do that? Fuck no. Sit down, Tulsi Gabbard. You're an asshole. And I don't care what you guys think about Tulsi Gabbard, dude. I'm not endorsing her. I'm not trying to say that she is a better candidate or person than anyone else. I'm saying when she authors legislation, it makes too much sense because she doesn't give a fuck. Like, I tried to talk to Pat the Burner, Silly Rabbit, about this. And it didn't really. I really want to talk to Graham Elwood about this. And he hasn't. I don't know if he saw me trying to get in touch with him or not. I don't know. If anybody has a better way than me to get through to Graham, I would love to talk to Graham about the theory, the Bernie Tulsi alliance theory, that they have one, and that's why Tulsi's allowed to say Julian Assange's name so that Bernie doesn't have to, and why Tulsi's allowed to speak the truth about Syria.
That'd be a solid ticket. That would be a solid ticket. It really
Do you
would.
think it's a solid theory, though? That's what I want to know. The ticket, we have fucking rigged elections, man. I'm worried about
disagree.
that.
I don't disagree. But if we're talking fantasy land where there's unicorns shitting out frozen yogurt of any flavor, then I'm just saying that ticket would be pretty freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it would be hard not to vote for that as a political compromise for me. Right. It would be hard to. Right. It'd be hard to say no to that.
Oh, and just to back me up a little bit more, in 2020, 27% of the electorate is going to be millennials, 28% baby boomers, but Gen Z is going to make up 10%. So 38% of the electorate is going to be left-leaning, and not Democrat left. I can't put enough quotation marks on that left, but actual left. So 38% of the electorate, more than a third, the largest groups, will be left, and yet Democrats are still preaching to baby boomers and the silent generation and people who are just, and this is going to sound ageist, but let's be real, they're not in power anymore. Their relevance is the same relevance that we had before we could start voting.
But they are in power. They have all of the banks and all of the corporations and own all of the politicians and are the
pitchforks.
I you know where I'm at, dude.
If they're not going to listen to us at the ballot box, Malcolm X's speech in '64, the ballot or the bullet, listen to that. Go on YouTube, listen to that, because it applies today. It's going to be the ballot or the bullet. The rich have a choice to make. That easy.
Well, and I mean, it it could be a situation where um, there's a play that FDR made where he went to, the titans of industry of the day
Right.
and said, "Look, man, you can either hurt a little bit and stay alive to make money, or I can forget to lock up on the way out." You know,
If we
um,
have that, great, because I'm not advocating for violence. What I'm telling you is what history has shown every time the people are ignored. Every time. It goes without fail. It's not if, it's a matter of when at this point. How many times can the people be wronged and disenfranchised before they say, you know what? This game sucks. I'm going to flip the game over, knock the table over, and call it good. We're going to restart with something new.
right. Well, at the same time, there's got to be something monumental that happens that snaps people out of.
Complacency?
Well, no, it's not complacency, really. It's fucking working to stay alive,
Okay.
or like if really your four walls and your shitty fucking car is all you got,
Right.
you're gonna be hesitant to give that up until
Right.
unless you've already had nothing, and you understand,
Right.
or um, you truly finally feel like, okay, man, I can deal with a little bit of hardship because there's got to be a fucking better end than what I'm coming home to every day. And that's probably in America going to take a seismic financial collapse. It's
And let me
going
be absolutely clear. Nobody on the left is advocating for a false life in which there's no hardships. We're advocating for a life where you get a fair shake. And unfortunately, in this current environment, none of us have a fair shake at having any form of financial security, any type of home ownership, any type of ability to move upward, even in the slightest. So that's our argument. It isn't, what was it, ponies and what was it, Hillary Clinton ponies and whatever the hell it was. It
oh yeah.
wasn't just offering things out to people for free. We're arguing for actual fairness when it comes to the system. And unfortunately, it looks like more and more that there is no opportunity or possibility for that. So again, I fall back to the torches and pitchforks.
Oh, I am fully arguing for you know dilithium crystal energy and fully automated gay luxury space communism. Star Trek guaranteed us. I am lobbying for that. I am, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be happy with healthcare, so that I wouldn't have to worry about losing a job and not being able to pay medical bills
Right.
if I ever had to protest or collectively bargain for a better future. I think that is important. I think things like rent control is massively important. Do you know how hard it is to activate your community if they have to move every 2 to 7 years? Do you know how hard it is to get people together and unified on a
But
front?
sadly, only people on the West Coast, New England, and like Miami, major areas that are just popular, are facing the gentrification problem and need for rent control. People in middle of America, I was talking with a friend of mine in Wyoming. They were talking about houses being expensive at like $250,000. I'm all like, oh, you don't know the struggle.
Oh no, but they do, because the $250,000 is still proportional. What do
That's
you think they're
true.
making a year in Wyoming, man? I mean, it's so they. But I hear from my musician friends about Austin being gentrified for the last
Right.
like 10 or 15 years. You've got areas all over the South and Midwest
Right.
that are totally
Atlanta.
fucking unlivable. I read article after article that says you nowhere in the United States can you live and pay rent if you make minimum wage.
Oh, that's, yeah, no argument. No argument.
That's untenable, you know? I mean, California money is different, dude. Like, I'm California poor. If I maintained my California income in a different state, I'd be doing all right,
Right.
you know? Um, that's not, I mean, it's neither here nor there, but it's still wealth is proportional to where you live. It really is.
That's
but
true.
nowhere
I
can
mean,
you
what I'm
get
getting at is that it affects those regions that I named earlier far more than it affects the middle of America. I mean, just the reality of it. Look at the Bay
oh,
Area.
I'm in Santa Cruz County,
Right. I
man.
was gonna say,
It's
look at the
like,
Bay Area's ramifications on everybody else around it. I mean,
yeah,
San Jose, San Francisco, and Oakland have single-handedly, by themselves, hyperinflated home values outside their little bubble so much that people can't even afford that, so they have to push further east and further south and further
dude,
north, for
the
Christ's sakes.
the average price of a house here is like $895,000.
Mm-hmm.
It That's untenable.
No.
You know, well, at least it is for people trying to work within the local economy.
Right.
You've either got to be already a property owner, or you're working over the hill in tech. You
Yeah.
know, you're
Yeah.
there. There's there aren't many jobs you can have here in this little valley where you can generate the income locally to afford to live here.
I'm
It
I'm in
it
Oakland right now, and I'm seeing the price of that gentrification. I can't walk up the street without being asked for money, being asked for a cigarette, being asked for something, and that's not a problem. I hand out what I have. I do what I can, but that is a direct product of gentrification, hyperinflating home values, piss poor wages, and there's a multitude of other issues there as well. But you're seeing this allegedly wealthy area with people who are living literally in RVs, tents, and everything else on the sidewalk. It's batshit insane. And this is in Oakland. You'll see it in Sacramento. You'll see it in no, you won't see it in San Francisco because our governor, when he was mayor there, decided to crack down on the homeless. So you're not going to see it in San Francisco because they literally ran them out. But you're going to see it in LA. You're going to see it anywhere you go in the state of California. You're going to see the haves and have nots, and it's going to be glaringly obvious. It's not going to be, they're not going to be hiding in a corner in a dark place and you can't see them. You could see the two Americas that John Edwards once spoke of.
Well, that was
Just
Barack Obama too, right? Or no, he said there aren't two Americas. There's just
mm-hmm.
the United States of America, and
Right.
he was lying through his fucking
Teeth.
fake ass mouth. He, um, should we be arming the homeless?
From my personal experience and the mental health issues that exist, no. Should we be taking care of and providing for and trying to help make their lives better and try to bring them up out of that situation? Yes. Should we leave it to churches and nonprofits? No. Should we actually be taking active steps under single payer healthcare to be able to provide these services for these people? Yes. But arming them, I get nervous when you and I know we've discussed guns before. I'm not a gun enthusiast. I interpret the Second Amendment in a totally different way. I take what half of constitutional scholars do. I know you take the other half, and I love you to death for it. And we've actually worked on compromise. We've actually had some beautiful compromises when it comes to guns. But
Yeah,
I'm already leery giving it to a person who makes $150,000 a year and is a weekend warrior. I'm
that,
already
that,
leery there.
I actually that was more of a joke and a reference to Tom Morello's guitar that says "Arm the Homeless."
Right.
Yeah,
I
little,
overanalyze everything, man.
little
Come
low
on. You
key,
can't set something up like that for me. I'll just
low
analyze the
key,
shit out of
low
it.
key shout out to Tom Morello. Um,
Always.
there's uh, from the chat, your right to privacy TV. Healthcare massively important. 40% U.S. jobs projected to be replaced by automation by year 2030. And right now, implementing facial recognition everywhere. More for obedience, sold as safety. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was an exchange that got picked up by a handful of people that happened on Twitter between a customer and JetBlue
No, I,
Airlines.
I didn't catch that.
Okay, if you want to, while I'm setting it up, you try and find this JetBlue facial recognition. The exchange was this woman was like, "Hey man, I you know just got off of your plane, and when I went through to board, instead of showing my passport or my boarding ticket, I had a facial scan. When did this happen, and when the fuck did I consent to it? And
Yeah, she began. I just boarded an international, like you said, at JetBlue flight. Instead of scanning my boarding pass or handing over my passport, I looked at a camera before being allowed down the jet bridge. Did facial recognition replace boarding passes unbeknownst to me? Did I consent to this? A funny thing, consent. Sometimes you have no idea if you've already given it. Sometimes you haven't given it at all. Wow.
so I don't
Wow.
shit like that freaks me out, right? Like we're all clear on where I fall on
Right.
facial
Uh,
recognition
I'm
software
not
and
fuzzy on
whatnot.
that.
I had to bust a friend of mine's bubble a while ago. I read a fucking, and I think you probably saw this too. It was a hilarious story, a seemingly hilarious story about juggalos being classified as a terrorist group, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you remember why?
Offhand, no. It was a while ago.
One of the reasons why is because they always obscured their faces.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you
Okay.
remember do you remember what there right after that there was a popular little Facebook app that let you change your face and
Right.
appearance.
Right.
Do you know what it was to?
No, honestly.
A clown. So
Huh.
they want to classify the Juggalos as a terrorist organization because they paint their faces like clowns.
I'm no fan of the
The
jugglers, but I
case
don't think they're terrorists.
the case gets tossed out. Right after the case gets tossed out, there's a brand new Facebook app that plots every point on your face and
Right.
then puts clown makeup over it.
That's that's
Do you see what I'm getting at here?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if you can't beat them in court, go ahead and use the social media
Yep.
to
Because you're already having facial recognition. I mean, if you're online and you've ever done anything online, you have facial recognition. I guarantee you and I have been, nice little analysis of our face so that anytime in the future anything pops up, guess who's in trouble?
so read
Guarantee
down
it.
that Twitter thread a little bit more and to where find the one to where JetBlue finally says where the software comes from.
Let's see. It apologizes and offers that you can opt out. The information is provided by the United States Department of Homeland Security from existing holdings.
Huh. Existing
It's
holdings.
securely transmitted to the Custom and Border Protection Database. Wow.
Yeah, JetBlue just casually dropping that their airline got your face from an existing Homeland Security database that once
That we
again,
didn't know about.
well, yeah, that I mean that at least your random JetBlue passenger wouldn't know about. Um, this is why we have the show, man. This is shit that you guys need to be aware of. Sean O'Brien from the Yale Privacy Lab um, says that it sounds depressing as fuck because it is, but having the knowledge empowers you. It enables you to be able to make more informed decisions. And if that means turning your bedroom into a Faraday cage, motherfucker, you do you. You know, like it's cool. One of the fucking most like stunning things that I've seen in a minute was a piece of graffiti that said, "In the future, everyone will want 15 minutes of anonymity."
That silence. What
Imagine
are
how
you going to add to
monitored.
that?
Imagine how monitored you have to be as a society to want 15 minutes of anonymity, as opposed to the culture that you and I grew up in. Where fucking Jesus, the roast of Flavor Flav. The only funny thing I've ever seen Carrot Top do. The only funny thing I've ever seen Carrot Top do was he handed Flavor Flav a clock with 15 minutes on it. That's where my mind went from 15 minutes of fame. All right. That's where it wound up at, was the Comedy Central roast of Flavor Flav and Carrot Top doing a joke. I apologize, but no.
Sadly,
Um
sadly, our culture is definitely about fame seeking. You know, it's with the accessibility of social media, we have the opportunity to spread message, information, etc., at a Mach 1 rate. The downside of it is that Facebook, Google, JetBlue, all these other places are gathering all this information on you. They're compiling it, they're selling it to the highest bidder, or they're turning it over to the US government. And this is a conspiracy. I mean, this has all been documented. And at the end of the day, it's a double-edged sword. And that ironic part about wanting 15 minutes of just not being picked up, that's just a terrifying, terrifying component. And it's definitely a consequence of the culture that we've been breeding so far.
well, it goes back to, it goes back to monetizing your personal information, and then um the people that provide the software and the people that provide the networks for it, they themselves have a much broader goal. If you, this is again something that is coming out of the Yale Privacy Lab. This is not me just rambling. You can go to the Yale Privacy Lab and you can, if you can't attend one of their workshops, they do make public a lot of their information and what they talk about. And one of the things that they talk about are these tech companies and these software companies wanting themselves to become government and media and your source, your sole source of everything, your one world government that meets all of your other needs, your service needs. That's what these motherfuckers want. And they're, if um if you can monetize thought, if you can monetize ideas, and you can monetize the data behind those thoughts and ideas, dude, you can also at the same time with your technology manipulate those thoughts and those ideas. You can do that by controlling the narrative. You can do that by targeting specific individuals through their devices, whether or not that's advertising or it's some ambulance signals like they were doing with Julian Assange. It's fucking a brave new world, if you will, you know?
And just to piggyback, go to privacylab.yale.edu if you guys have any more questions or trying to find out what Steve's talking about. It's very open access, it's informative, and it's something I think anybody who uses the internet, not just of one political persuasion or another, anyone who uses the internet needs to go to privacylab.yale.edu.
And also, if you haven't, pick up The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. That is, it's scarier than a dramatic reading of the Zeitgeist Movement, The Script by Lee Camp. It's fucking.
The goal is to automate us. Welcome to the age of surveillance capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the
no. Yeah. Shoshana Zuboff's book, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, the goal is to automate us. But here's the thing, man. Like the fact that we as human beings in 2019 are worried about automation shows just how fucking dystopian the society we live in is right now. Like, we should be stoked. Like, fuck yeah. The robots are gonna do the fucking bullshit. We can make art. We can fucking,
Cure cancer.
finally write the great American novel. We can
Right.
fucking figure out how to paint with our toes. We can fucking do penis puppetry for money. Like there's
Create
unbelievable.
wormholes.
Yeah, we
Perpetual energy.
sure, absolutely, all of those things, and the occasional ball and fucking cock sailboat.
Oh, of course. That
All
goes
of
without saying.
that.
No, at the end
uh,
of the day, it hasn't been automation for the benefit of humanity. It's been automation for the enslavement of humanity. And I'm a technophile.
I agree. I 100% agree with you on that.
I'm a huge technophile. I love technology. I love the advancement of technology. I love what technology can, the potential of what it can do for people. But what Steve's saying is not absurd. It's not some type of anti-tech stance. It's a reality.
Well, I mean, and I was one of the first episodes I had on the podcast was called "Is the Internet Pandora's Box?" And ultimately, throughout the course of the conversation, Lindsay Sharman, the guest, who's the founder of the Eyes Open network that this show is a part of, she hosts a show called Rogueways. Check it out; it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
Lindsay and I and Sarah Hall, who was co-hosting the podcast with me at the time, we determined that the internet is probably, if not the Pandora's box that was being referred to in the story, certainly the closest thing to a real-time version of that we are ever going to experience.
Well, the thing of it is that we created the technology, and there's going to be flaws within it. There's going to be loopholes, and there's going to be ways to manipulate it for both good purposes and very nefarious ones. And the U.S. government, amongst other international governments, have definitely manipulated it to serve their ends. And it's become less and less of a benefit to all of humanity, but a device that can be used to control it at this point. Facial recognition, the other surveillance technology that comes out of the CIA and the Department of Defense. You know, Khashoggi was killed from, if I'm not mistaken, Israeli-made intelligence gathering equipment being used by the Saudis. It, it's it's gotten to the point where, and again, I'm a technophile, love technology, don't hate it by any stretch of imagination. It is being used as a bludgeon against us.
Um, so we've got Roxanne Devereaux in the chat.
I love the name.
Saying that I think that fear of automation is stoked to make us fall for the UBI scam proposed by Yang. The problem is that Yang is wanting us to choose between our safety nets and UBI. And I agree with what you're saying about Yang, Roxanne. I do. I've been very, very vocal about stating that universal basic income as a standalone policy is a Cato Institute fucking wet dream.
Right.
In fact, you can go on, you can go look up the Cato Institute's paper on universal basic income. Right? I mean, don't do it right now because we're streaming, but when we're done, you can totally fucking check me on that. The Cato Institute has
Disease or
offered.
Cure is the title of the paper. So if that gives you an indicator of which way it's going, go ahead, Steve.
My point being, is that UBI, that as Andrew Yang is even pushing it, is an absolute farce. You're right about that, Roxanne. You are for sure. UBI could happen, yeah, with alongside a federal jobs guarantee. It could happen
as a supplementary component, not as an end-all be-all.
Well, and certainly not as a replacement for the entire social safety.
No, supplementary, strictly supplementary.
Bullshit. Yeah. But I don't think that that fear of automation is being stoked for that sole purpose, or even by Andrew Yang for that sole purpose. I think Andrew Yang genuinely believes what his libertarian lizard brain is telling him. And the fact that he's running as a Democrat just shows you how fucking bought the Democratic Party is, and that he saw an opportunity to go big right now.
Right.
And go ahead and do it. And holy fuck, man, is he going to be able to consult for lobbyists on a level like you wouldn't believe after this? Like he's going to get paid.
Oh yeah.
But I don't.
He's not in this to win. No.
Yeah. Not even a little bit. And a good chunk of his audience, at least from what I see online, is mostly fascinated 4chan. Fucking Peppy the Frog and Pink Yang hats and shit.
Right.
You know,
for anybody over the age of 45 who doesn't know who 4chan is, it's not a constituency anybody needs, wants, or desires. Although they are entertaining as hell, I'll be real with you on that one. There's entertainment value there.
I mean, I'm on Vote. I'm on a couple of fucking super right wing websites just because
information, right?
I
also do the same thing for Reddit. I don't post in Reddit, but I'll read the bullshit that the right wing or Democrats or anything else are putting out, just so I have knowledge of what the arguments are.
That is 100% code for Jason is checking to see if some chick posted her butthole today. That is 100% code for that. I
told you not to say that out in public. That's my fetish, my choice.
Fifth base.
No, but
so there. I mean, there's people that are giving Andrew Yang like a lot of time and attention in their heads, and they think that he's the last hope for the neoliberals, and that he's going to be the one that the fucking establishment is going to try and put up at the convention. And I don't personally cotton to that theory. Like I said earlier, I think that they're going to have Elizabeth Warren play turncoat unless they absolutely think they can get Kamala Harris on and elected as a vice president. But they're going to go with CIA Pete, and they're going to go with fucking Elizabeth Warren, and they're going to try and make Elizabeth Warren go out there and round up the fucking progressives that, if they have to if they're paying any kind of attention, are going to be freaking the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at Andrew Yang's polling numbers, and apparently the internet doesn't want to cough them up. The guy is irrelevant. I mean, there's 538s talking about potential ways that he can win the nomination, which, fuck 538.
Okay, dude. So Nate Silver was lashing out at people in this like super passive aggressive and overly pedantic and smug sort of way. And I can't remember who was he fucking yelling at. I think it might have been David Sirota. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, because Sirota was dragging him for being an idiot, and rightfully so.
The rest of us were.
Yeah. But the way that I put Nate Silver's meltdown is that it was what I imagined, like a toddler-esque meltdown as delivered by Ben Stein would look like.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Stay with me. But he was just like, I mean, it's really hard for someone to sound smarmy on a two-dimensional fucking tweet, you know. But Nate Silver,
special talent.
Well, he traded any kind of legitimacy that he had to be a pundit and to be a factor, as opposed to a geek that had a flawed model of statistics after X amount of elections and needed to rethink his modeling process rather than double down on his track record up to then, and he forgot that fucking it's a fluid world. It is
Right.
not the stats for an election aren't as fixed as that, even if the elections themselves are fixed. Turns out it was easier to rig a primary than it was a general. You know, who knew?
Who would have thunk it? Andrew Yang raised 1.7 in the first quarter, which is a joke. Let's see.
Yeah,
Wow.
there. I whoever Roxanne Devereaux is, you're fucking right on tonight. Thank you for participating.
I totally agree. I love it when the audience gets involved, and especially when they can turn the whole conversation like that with some really inspired insights.
Roxanne, there's a clear difference between IDPOL identity politics and true intersectionality. And I mean, of course, the Democrats have weaponized identity politics because they don't have anything to fucking stand for. That doesn't mean that people of color or people with fucking a different lifestyle or people who were born differently or people, that doesn't mean that they should not have rights. It does not mean that they should not have causes that are fought for and celebrated and won. That's the weaponizing of identity politics is fucking just lazy bougie bullshit. It just straight there's
I got attacked for my stance on being adamantly opposed to identity politics by literally a whole cross section of America, known as the Democrat Party, telling me how wrong I was to not vote for a person based off their policy, but their gender, sexual orientation, or race. I was supposed to pay attention to those things other than policy. That's why I was so evil for being anti-Clinton. That's why I was so evil for being anti-Biden. Apparently, that's why it shouldn't be the person. It should be their policies. It should be what they believe in and what their vision for America is. It has nothing to do with it's dangling or not dangling between their legs or who they love or what color they are, whatever.
I have
None of that shit
women
matters.
friends that were getting dragged as recently as a day or so ago for saying flat out, no, I am not going to vote for someone solely based on whether or not they have a vagina.
Right.
You know,
You want
and
equality. What feminists are arguing when it comes to, and I guess I'm going to be accused of mansplaining here, so screw it. But every time I talk to an actual feminist, a legitimate feminist, an intersectional feminist, it doesn't matter. They always say that the end goal is to be not looked at as a woman, to be looked at as a person that can come up with ideas or what have you when it comes to elections. Don't vote for gender, you vote for the ideas. You leave gender at the door because you're doing the reverse, I suppose, when you're just solely basing it off, oh, she's a female. Okay, super. Hillary Clinton was a female with neoliberalism and neocon type of proclivities. How is that going to make anything any better?
right. Uh yeah, and again, this goes back to the fucking Tulsi's wonderful deleted video. You know, it doesn't make a difference if you defeat Trump, if you replace him with someone who legislates like Trump but doesn't hurt your feels on Twitter. It's fucking and getting that through the head of the voter who is inundated with information from corporate media or maybe doesn't have the entirety of left Twitter on their fucking newsfeed like I do or like you do. You know,
Right.
maybe it's somebody who fucking has their high school friends and some celebrities, and one of those celebrities is telling them, you know, I pledge to be civil. I pledge to police my tone. I pledge to vote for the Democratic nominee no matter who it is, no matter what. Blue, no matter who, is fucking cancer. It is. Straight up. There's nothing, there's full stop.
Go to people in the 99%. You can see that everything Steve's saying. That's why I don't need to jump in. I have years of backing this up and speaking to this particular issue myself. Blue no matter who is literally the dumbest slogan I could think of offhand. And there's some pretty stupid slogans out there. But to vote for someone regardless of their ideology just because they're a Democrat,
Right. And
Are you going to vote for a pro-life Democrat? I'm just curious. If
right.
you're interested in a woman's right to choose, you're going to disregard your personal ideology
A
to vote
pro-life,
blue no
pro-war,
matter who. Am I right
pro-fracking,
saying that?
pro-Wall Street, anti-cannabis, anti-union, anti-fucking
But just because they're a
workplace.
Democrat, it's okay
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want clarification. Just
Um,
clarification.
uh, Ed in the chat. Yeah, Tulsi deleted the video, but it's still floating around. If
We have copies.
you, yeah, I never posted that. Jay, um, if you want to post that and at me, I'm at Slow News Day Show on Twitter. Um, but yeah, it's uh, oh, okay, you saw it. Yeah, but yeah, Tulsi did delete the video, but the last time I saw it, it had like over 80,000 views on it, just on the Twitter one. But I mean, it's incredible and it needs to be said. And um, whatever problems that I have with Tulsi's candidacy aside, um, she's saying it and Mike Gravel's saying it. Mike Gravel's saying it because he's 88. He doesn't give a fuck, and a couple of 20-year-olds are running his campaign, dude. He's fucking. He gets to do whatever the shit he wants to. He's awesome. I donated to his campaign. I hope you guys did too. I think it would be great to get him on the debate stage. I don't for a moment think that the DNC is going to allow Bernie and Tulsi on the same stage or Bernie and Gravel on the same stage. I know they said, oh, but we have a process that's going to be fair as to who gets to be on what stage. And if there's less than 20 candidates, then we won't have two stages. Well, a number of other people have announced, and they also said that they're going to change the rules for requirement to get into the debate immediately after the first one. So, on the off chance that Bernie and Tulsi wind up on the same stage once, it'll be that once and only that once. Because the last thing the DNC wants is for any kind of offense to be formulated by more than one progressive on the stage. They want to keep whoever is the most quote unquote left on defense the whole time, counteracting smears and barely getting the stump speech talking points out, making it look like they've got a shit fucking debate performance. That's the entire fucking goal at this point. There's no way that they're going to have anything resembling uh, um, a fair representation of, you know, um, a fair representation of ideas.
Right.
Debates.
But if you do that, though, you got a problem. If you actually had a fair representation of ideas and a real debate of ideas, the status quo would falter. It would sputter out. People would realize this isn't the way it has to be.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So there are a lot of people that are trying to act like, oh, it's going to be lit when Bernie and Tulsi are on the debate stage together. No, I'm sorry, guys. That's not going to fucking happen. That's not how this whole thing gets to play out. And if it does, it'll happen once and only once.
Right.
Like, I love my family that is 100% in this process, and people fucking come at me like I don't appreciate the work that people who work on campaigns or people that work inside of government are doing to get good things passing. And again, that's not fucking true. Just because I want fully automated gay luxury space communism now doesn't mean that I'm not aware of the fact that you've got to be able to live in a stable community in order to fucking get yourself there. It doesn't mean that I'm not aware of the fact that along the way we're going to have a living wage, and we're going to have fucking a sustainable fucking planet. We're going to have to get off fucking fossil fuels. We're going to have to fucking kick Monsanto out of our country and fucking publicly execute every fucking corporate head of that company. I mean, it's just like that shit that's gonna have to happen. And the people that are doing that work along the way, dude, I got love for those people and I respect those people for what they're trying to do, because I know that the people that are trying to do that, that I am close to, that I speak to regularly, don't just stop the second they get one thing done. And I fear that that like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got one thing done, and now she asked Nancy Pelosi if she wants a single or double latte every morning. And I know that I know people get mad at me for that, but I would like to be proven wrong on that. I would.
I leave the jury out on that component. I need to see more progressives and leftists in office, and real leftists, real Marxists, real leftists, before I could say what type of incendiary things can be said and done to the established Democrats to either force them to see the reality of the world or to get rid of the party, let them fall into the dustbin of history. Until we have a real progressive or leftist bloc that exists, it's all just, it's window dressing to me. That's all it is at the end of the day. Maybe that's my cynical side coming out, because I am a huge fan of AOC, the representative from Minnesota, Ilan, I believe. Huge fan. I have some issues with some of AOC's backing off of things, but huge fan nonetheless. But what actual impact has anything been done as of yet? She can propose all day what she wants. She can propose a Green New Deal. She can propose socialism across the country. She can propose healthcare for all. She can do whatever she wants to do. Doesn't mean it's going to come to a vote. Doesn't mean the Democrat majority under Nancy Pelosi is ever going to allow it to come to the floor.
Well, and that's something that people forget about fucking the with people forget that the Democrats aren't there to help working people. They're there to stop progressive legislation
Right.
from ever becoming viable. And so uh when progressives are in the when Democrats are the minority party, yeah, man, they roll out
They're
all the
socialist as
progressive
hell.
legislation. They talk that shit, man, and they'll rally and stand for all kinds of fucking progressive causes. And the moment they have the slightest bit of power, of course, every single fucking time they turn their back on the fucking worker and go shake hands with management and figure out if management gets to hold us down while the Democrats fuck us, or if the Democrats are holding us down while management fucks us. And that's just the bipartisanship that we can expect from our congressional officials.
I got another minute left, and I have to get up super early, unfortunately, for my job. And we're going to pick up the topic that we talked about earlier. We're going to pick that up. I want to hit that tomorrow for sure. I was a little angry about it today, and I might have said some things that might have been incendiary if I was allowed to do it today. I think tomorrow would probably be better to do it. It's going to be something near and dear to me that bothers me immensely. But going back to bipartisanship, I think that should be the equivalent of a curse word. I think it should be something that somebody would be like, "Ooh, you're bipartisan? Oh." It's not something that's positive. It's never been something that's positive. It's acquiescence. And
Well,
when
and let's be clear here that when we say that we're talking specifically about legislation, it's not that you shouldn't
right,
be friends with people that are
no, God, no, no,
different
no, no,
from
no,
you
no, 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 no.
politically.
Just legislation.
But yeah, and yeah,
Sorry, I should have been clear on that one. When it comes to legislation, bipartisanship is a foul word because at the end of the day, no one wins except those that are wealthy and the elite. They give a little and they get a lot more back from it. It doesn't benefit us. This isn't the FDR era. This isn't the time in which people were actually looked out for by a president who gave a rat's ass and a Congress that sort of did.
yeah, and Ed in the chat's right too. Pragmatic should be one of those newly added curse words too. Um, 100%, man. You are absolutely correct about that.
Incrementalism. Let's throw
Um,
that in there too. We should come up with seven dirty words. We have our own Carlin bit on that one.
right. Access.
Incrementalism. Fucking morons. All right, I have to go to
Pragmatic.
sleep so I don't kill people. But
And the last fucking one can be the marketplace of ideas.
oh Jesus, if I hear that one more time, I'm going to euthanize myself.
All
Stupidest set
right,
of
man.
words.
Well, Jay,
I
I'll
love you
catch up with
guys.
you
We'll do this.
tomorrow.
We're gonna do this again tomorrow for sure. Like I said, we still have some topics we didn't touch on tonight. But again, every time I
On
leave
the
the
chat, you
audience,
guys.
all I ask is you guys critically think, look up your information, anything you and Steve, or you have questions that Steve and I brought up, Google it, ask us. We'll point you in the right direction to where we got our information from. We're about transparency here. So I want to thank all of you who got involved, who watched the show, and everything else. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. This has been round 2, Slow News Day Live on a Sunday. Fucking mad love to all of you, and good luck to us all.